Hello, my name is Jamin Kimmel, and I'm an urban planner and consultant working for the City of Missoula on the Our Missoula project. This video is part of a series of 4 videos that summarize an equity analysis that was conducted of Missoula's land use and zoning regulations. And this is the 3rd video in the series. In this video, we'll summarize how the city's current land use policies and regulations contribute to social equity issues related to displacement and gentrification. These terms are technical, so it's important to define them clearly. We use the term displacement to describe when a household is forced to move out of their home or neighborhood due to rising rents or prices. We use the term gentrification to describe when rising rents or prices across a neighborhood result in an influx of higher income households, which then in turn change the demographic makeup of a neighborhood as a whole. So these 2 issues are related, and they are equity issues because they disproportionately impact lower income and BIPOC families. Being displaced from your home is destabilizing and sometimes leads to homelessness. Being forced to move out of your neighborhood may also mean moving to a neighborhood further from the amenities and services you need. And this might even include culturally specific amenities like churches or food outlets or community centers. So how do land use regulations impact displacement and gentrification? First, it's important to remember that displacement and gentrification are caused by increasing housing prices. So as we described, housing prices may rise faster if there's a shortage of new homes to meet the needs of a growing population in places like Missoula. And zoning and land use rules may be contributing to limiting the supply of new homes. So consider this simple model as an example of how displacement and gentrification can occur in places like Missoula. So there are 2 neighborhoods in this city. One is mostly made up of higher or middle income households, and those are shown in the green or red on this model. Another is mostly made up of lower income households, shown in blue. Zoning districts, shown by the dotted line, tend to reinforce this segregation between where middle and higher income households can afford to live and where lower income households can afford to live. As the population of the community grows, new households move in, new homes will be built to meet that need. However, if there are opportunities for these new homes in all zone districts, then those new households will be distributed across the city. The result is that more housing has been built to meet the need. However, the demographic makeup of the neighborhoods hasn't changed. There's still a higher income neighborhood and a lower income neighborhood. Now consider an alternative. If the population keeps growing, new homes are needed, but the opportunities to build new housing might be concentrated in the lower income neighborhood. Perhaps the zone districts in this neighborhood allow for higher density housing, or they allow generally for more housing than is allowed in other parts of town. So given lack of options in other neighborhoods, middle and high income households will then look to buy or rent in that lower income neighborhood. This means new housing is built in that neighborhood. However, this also means that existing property owners will ask for higher prices. The result is that lower income households are most likely to be displaced from that lower income neighborhood. They can't compete with higher income households for existing housing, and they can't afford the new housing that's built in that neighborhood. Over time, this may change the demographic makeup of the neighborhood. There are fewer low-income households and more middle or higher income households. Now, the root cause of this change, of this process of gentrification, is the overall shortage of housing. However, it's equally important that there are opportunities for housing outside the neighborhood that is gentrified as there are opportunities for housing inside the neighborhood. And this is the key finding of many years of research studies on gentrification. When the zoning code limits the overall supply of housing and concentrates opportunities for new housing, mostly in lower income neighborhoods, then gentrification is more likely to occur. So to help address this issue in Missoula, we analyze which neighborhoods may be experiencing displacement or gentrification or are vulnerable to displacement or gentrification happening in the future. So this map shows areas where the data indicates that the area may be either in the early stages of gentrification or are susceptible to it occurring in the future. Areas that are unassigned or shown in gray may have populations that are vulnerable to displacement, but in general, they're less vulnerable than areas shown in yellow and orange. And so this map shows the places that, relative to other neighborhoods in the city, are most vulnerable to the negative impacts of displacement and gentrification. When we overlay this map with existing zoning patterns, it highlights that the current zoning map may be concentrating opportunities for new housing in certain neighborhoods, and then the zones that generally allow more housing development and higher density housing are more likely to be mapped to those neighborhoods that are vulnerable to gentrification and displacement, while zones that allow for single dwellings and lower density housing are generally mapped to places that are less vulnerable to displacement. So this pattern makes it more likely that new development is concentrated in those neighborhoods vulnerable to displacement and gentrification, while other areas experience little new development and are unable to accommodate some of those higher income households that would otherwise move to them. If opportunities for new housing were more broadly distributed, it would lessen the pressure for new housing in those vulnerable neighborhoods and maybe less likely to result in gentrification or displacement occurring in those vulnerable neighborhoods. So that concludes this segment of the video, and we want to know what you think. So consider these two questions and then respond in the comment box below the video. Where and how do you see gentrification occurring in Missoula? And secondly, how have you or someone you know been affected by the issue of displacement?